Strategic thinking requires 4 steps. First of all, you determine where exactly you are today in terms of sales, cash flow, and profitability. Second, you determine where you want to be at a certain point in the future, 1, 2, 3, and even 5 years ahead. Third, you determine how you got to where you are today, your strengths and weaknesses, and the history of your business. And fourth, you determine the exact steps that you will need to take to get from wherever you are today to wherever you want to be in the future. Perhaps the most important quality for success in business, especially in turbulent times, is flexibility. You must be open to the need to change, to start new things, to discontinue others, and to do things completely new and different. You must be flexible. Now, there are only 4 ways that you can change your business activities and personal life. 4 and 4 only, and here they are. Number 1, you can do more of certain things. So, what should you be doing more of? The obvious answer is that you should be doing more of the things that are working the very best for you today. You should be putting more resources into the areas that represent the greatest opportunities for profit and growth, both today and in the future. The second way you can change your life is you can do less of other things. So the question is, what should you be doing less of? Well, you should be doing less of those things that are not working or no longer working as well as they might have in the past. A third way you can change your life or business is you can start doing something completely new or different. This requires that you move out of your comfort zone into your discomfort zone. This is very hard for most people, but you must be open to the possibility of doing something completely different in the future from what you have ever done before. And the fourth way that you can change your business is you can stop certain activities altogether. The idea of stopping certain activities brings us to the subject of zero-based thinking. We say that in zero-based thinking you ask this question: is there anything that I am doing today that, knowing what I now know, I wouldn't get into again today if I had to do it over? We call this a QUINK analysis. Knowing what I now know, QUINK. In times of rapid change, there are always areas in your personal and business life that, knowing what you now know, you wouldn't get into again today if you had to do them over. Your willingness to ask and honestly answer this question is the key to remaining flexible and quick on your feet in times of turbulence. How can you tell if you have a zero-based thinking situation in your life or business? Simple. Stress. Whenever you experience ongoing chronic stress about any person or situation, you should ask yourself, if I was not now in this situation, knowing what I now know, would I get into it again today? This is a great question. Now here's another question for you. What percentage of the time do you think that you will turn out to be wrong? Well, the answer, according to the American Management Association, is about 70%. 70% of your decisions will turn out to be wrong in the fullness of time. It's amazing how many people will stay in a bad situation or continue with a bad course of action because of their unwillingness or inability to admit that they made a mistake or that they were wrong in the past. But remember this, when you made the decision, it was probably a good decision based on the situation at that time, but now the situation has changed. Now you have to evaluate your situation based on the current reality. There are several areas where you can apply the zero-based thinking process in your life and work. Number 1, are there any people in your life, personal or business, who, knowing what you now know, you wouldn't have gotten involved with again? If the answer is yes, your next question is, how do I get out and how fast? Fully 85% of your problems, stress, and unhappiness in life will be caused by other people. If the situation has not worked out, have the honesty and especially the courage to admit it. Remember, people don't change. Under stress, they become even more of what they already are. Never stay in a relationship of any kind on the off chance that the person will somehow change in some way. Basic personality traits and temperament do not change over a lifetime. The second area has to do with products. Are there any products that you are selling today that, based on what you now know, you would not bring to the market again today if you had to do it over? If there are, the next question is, how do I discontinue these products and how fast? The third area has to do with services. Are there any services that your company offers that, knowing what you know today, you wouldn't bring to the market again today if you had to do it over? Remember, almost everything seems like a good idea at the time. It's only with experience that you learn that it was not a good choice. It's amazing how many products and services continue to be offered and sold even when it's clear that there's a limited market for them because of the ego problems of the people who approved them in the first place. Don't let this happen to you. The fourth area has to do with expenses. Are there any expenses in your life or business that, knowing what you now know, you would not incur again or get into again if you had to do it over? When a company gets into trouble and they bring in a turnaround expert, the very first thing that the expert does is eliminate all non-essential expenses. You should do the same in your own business while you still have a choice. The fifth area has to do with business processes. Are there any business processes or activities that, knowing what you now know, you wouldn't start up again today if you had to do it over? Businesses often engage in a variety of activities that seemed justifiable when the economy was booming, and then they continue those activities even after the economic situation has changed. You should put every decision in your business life on trial for its life on a regular basis. The sixth area has to do with investments. Are there any investments in your life or business that, knowing what you now know, you wouldn't get into again if you had to do them over? Now, the three main investments that you make are time, money, and emotion. Is there any financial investment that you have made that, knowing what you now know, you wouldn't get into again today? If your answer is yes, then the next question is, how do you get out and how fast? Are there any investments of time that you have made that, knowing what you now know, you wouldn't put that much time into that activity or project again? Are there any investments of emotion in a relationship or a career or something else that, knowing what you now know, you would not do over again? In accounting, there's an expression called a sunk cost. This is a cost that is gone forever. It can never be retrieved. Most of your investments of time, money, and emotion are sunk costs. They are parts of the past. They cannot be recovered. Don't throw time, money, or emotion down a rat hole. If you made a mistake in the past, cut your losses and focus on the future. It takes tremendous courage and honesty to ask the zero-based thinking questions. But once you decide to cut your losses and get out of a situation that you would not get into again today, you will only have one reaction. You'll say to yourself, why didn't I do this a long time ago? To succeed in business and in life, you must be prepared to ask the zero-based thinking question over and over again on a go-forward basis. Is there anything in your life that, knowing what you now know, you wouldn't get into again today if you had to do it over? If there is, get out as fast as you can. This may be one of the best decisions that you ever make.